everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Candid Conversations. We are at episode 11, and today we are joined with our dear friend, Shannon Durio from Prison Performing Arts. So if this is your first time watching Candid Conversations, I just want to remind you that I'm Lindsay and I'm the founder of City Block.
And I'm Amanda, and I'm the Director of Content Strategy.
I'm Lexi, and I'm the Media and Marketing Associate.
Thank you. And as I mentioned today, we are joined with Shannon from the Prison Performing Arts. They do amazing work for St. Louis. So thank you so much for being here today, Shannon.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm always excited to talk about PPA, and it's nice to talk about it with friends like you. So glad to be here.
Thank you. Shannon, would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself and your role with PPA? Let's just tell our followers a little bit more about you.
Sure. Again, my name is Shannon Durio. I'm the Executive Director at Prison Performing Arts. I have been with the organization for a little less than a year and a half as a staff member, but I've been a passionate supporter and spectator for much longer than that. So yeah, right now we're all working from home, so I miss everybody, but it's a great team to work for, and we have a really, really amazing support base here in St. Louis. So yeah, I have been in the nonprofit space in St. Louis for, well, I've been a nonprofit for about 15 plus years, but in St. Louis since 2009, and it never fails to amaze me, the level of generosity and philanthropic spirit here in St. Louis. It's really second to none. So yeah.
That's amazing. So I guess maybe for people who don't necessarily know what PPA is, would you mind diving in a little deeper with what you guys do? I mean, I know it's a lot, so maybe like a broad, and we can dive in more as we proceed.
I'll give that the high level overview. So Prison Performing Arts was established a little over 20 years ago by a brilliant woman named Agnes Wilcox, who unfortunately is no longer with us today, but she founded the organization, and it's more than what it sounds like. It is what it sounds like, but more than that. We go into 3 different Missouri state prisons and 4 juvenile justice and correctional centers in St. Louis, and also now 2 transitional centers for returning citizens in St. Louis. And we have an alumni theater company, which is individuals who participated in PPA while they were incarcerated and have since returned home. We have a group of them that meet and they write and they do rehearse and perform. And so it's kind of their outlet post incarceration, but we really do a wide variety of artistic disciplines, everything from Shakespeare, full-blown Shakespeare productions in the state prisons. And then in the youth facilities, it is more process-driven art, classroom style, such as everything from ballet to improv, poetry, African drumming, as well as traditional theater and acting as well. With our new programs in the transitional centers, we are now doing visual art with adults for the first time, as well as writing and acting workshops there too. So it's incredible high quality art done in some unique settings, but it's really a transformational process for justice involved youth and adults throughout Missouri. So
that's amazing.
Thank you. That's really cool. So I know you touched on this a little bit, that you were originally a spectator at these events and then you became part of the team. Would you mind talking about how you first heard and started to go, and then what made you decide that you wanted to be a part of this full time?
Yep. So I was working for another reentry organization in St. Louis a couple of years ago, and there really is an incredible network of reentry organizations here in St. Louis who all collaborate and work very closely together to support returning citizens from pre-release all the way through post-release. But I was working for one, and we were, a colleague of mine is on the board for Prison Performing Arts, and so she arranged for PPA, our volunteers, our staff, everyone to attend a show, an original production in the women's prison in Vandalia, Missouri, called Run on Sentence. And so I coordinated on my organization side, because there's quite a bit of red tape for getting into the facilities to attend a show as a guest. They just want to make sure, background checks and that kind of thing. So I had literally no idea what to expect. The arts was not something that the organization I worked for engaged returning citizens in. So I didn't really know what to expect, but I was blown away. I sat in the audience that day and watched these women who, the caliber of talent and authenticity and vulnerability and courage that they shared in this original production. I cried, I laughed. I think I hit every spectrum of the emotional avalanche that day, and was beyond impressed with the program itself. And it was really neat because with the performances that PPA does, they invite the incarcerated actors' families to come in as well as the general community to come in. And for a lot of people, myself included, it was the first time I had ever been into a state prison before. And so it's a little bit intimidating and you don't know what to expect. But my first interaction with the incarcerated artists was really seeing them at their very best. And it was a paradigm shift, I think, for what we expect, for people who are serving time behind bars, and to see just their talent. And it's a phenomenal experience. One that I know that you ladies have been to some shows. I know, Lindsay, you have. I'm not sure about Amanda and Lexi, but it took my breath away. And so I knew that would not be my last show. And so a few years later, several shows later, it's a calling. I feel like it's something like sometimes you just feel called, and PPA had my heart. And there's only myself included now, 3 full-time staff that serves 8-9 different facilities, several hundred, justice involved youth and adults, and some contracted teaching artists who are the best in their field, who just love this organization so much and believe in its impact so much that when a position came available, the heart wants what the heart wants. And it just seemed like the stars aligned, and it was really the right fit. And I've never worked so hard, and also never enjoyed myself as much as I have working here, because to see the transformations of and the skills that are developed in a program like this, it really is humbling on one hand to think, how hard they work to be vulnerable with a community that doesn't understand them. And just very rewarding to see the impact on the community as well, when they get to witness the magic that the arts bring to people who are involved with the justice systems. So that was not short-winded, sorry, but
no,
that's how I got here.
That's awesome. It's not a short story, so.
And the work that PPA is doing and that you're doing is so important. I remember the first show that we went to, Nicole, one of our former team members, and we drove to Vandalia for the show, and on the way there we couldn't stop talking about how excited we were, and by the end of the show we had no words. We were speechless. And as you mentioned, Shannon, it's the transformation. One of my favorite parts of the show is at the end, all of the actors actually talk about what this show has meant to them, or what it meant for their family to be there.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, where we were left so speechless, and just wanting to kind of support PPA and wanting for the rest of the world to know the work that you're doing. So my long-winded question now is, I want to know what's one of your favorite memories with PPA?
So many, but I think the most recent one that stands out for me is our last show that we were able to do before the pandemic hit. It was Memory of Two Mondays by Arthur Miller. And literally, we had the show on a Thursday, and Friday they shut down all of the facilities across Missouri because of COVID. But I was in the waiting room where you have to, they take groups back in, after you've been checked in. And I met an older couple, and I asked if that was their first show, and they said yes. And the gentleman said, my grandson is in a play, and we drove 4.5 hours to be here today to see him. I can't imagine. He is so shy. I can't imagine I don't even know what to expect today, because knowing him, I can't imagine him on stage. And I said, oh, well, that's neat. We talked about his grandson and stuff. And 4.5 hours in the rain that day. They drove one way to be there. So when we went in, I noticed they got a front row seat. And then after the show was over, like you mentioned, Lindsay, it was a phenomenal show, standing ovations. And then after it was over, the actors all come out to do a talk back. And they share their experiences. And the gentleman, who the grandfather, stood up and he told everyone, I don't even recognize my grandson up there right now. He came out full of confidence. He knew his lines. He looks happy, and I'm so proud of him. And those are the moments when it's like biting my, I don't even try to pretend anymore. I just weep, because you see it, they've been incarcerated and away from their families for so long, and they made the sacrifice to go out there not knowing what to expect, and they could firsthand see the impact of the program on their grandson whom they loved. And it was just really, really powerful to me to see those moments and to see the connections that happen. And he's out now. He was released earlier this summer, I think, and he's participating in our alumni program now. And it's just a reminder that these are real people with real families who care about them and who miss them when they're incarcerated. And, you know, we didn't know it then, but when they left that day, it was visiting hours, everything shut down. So it was the last opportunity that these families had to see their loved ones for an extended amount of time, you know, while COVID restrictions were in place. And so I'm so grateful for that opportunity, and that those grandparents made the sacrifice that day to drive in the rain, total of 9 hours round trip, to see, you know, the impact and how much their grandson had grown, and found the positive in a very dark situation. So
that is so powerful. And I'm tearing up. I don't know what the weeping thing. I guess we're just gonna have to go with it.
But it's a normal reaction at PPA.
It's such a human forward organization, and that human connection is so important when you're teaching the arts or any subject for that matter. And as you mentioned, when COVID shut everything down, we were kind of with you along the way. But would you mind kind of telling our viewers a little bit about how you've shifted during COVID and the impact it's had on the organization?
Yeah. So PPA is first and foremost an arts organization. The quality, like I said, of arts that our outstanding staff provides, the trainings, it's really unparalleled. But the difference is that we don't have traditional theaters and venues or access to the artists, you know, in a situation like COVID. So we couldn't get everyone on Zoom, you know, other than our alumni group, we couldn't get everyone on Zoom to have a meeting about how to proceed, or have them share their art via the internet, or, you know, because they don't have, youth and adults don't just have internet, you know, easy communication access when they are incarcerated or detained. So I have so much gratitude for and respect for our artistic staff, Chris and Rachel, and their teaching artists, who immediately pivoted and began developing distance learning curriculum that was sent weekly, emailed weekly. And then in some of the youth facilities, they already had Zoom, like one classroom with one laptop, and they could do a Zoom class projected on the screen. And so immediately, especially for the youth facilities, our teaching artists and Rachel quickly pivoted. Then we got grant funding through the CARES Act to purchase individual tablets, computer tablets for the youth. So now they can have one-on-one interactions and complete assignments and things like that all online. So there was no lapse in the youth programming whatsoever throughout all of this. And they are still in weekly classes. They're doing pre-recorded sessions, the teaching artists are. That can be, and that's evergreen digital content now that the youth can access anytime. And they've been doing some poetry and visual arts in the youth facilities as well. And for these youth, Rachel was just telling me the average age is 15. And they haven't been able to see their families or their, you know, or just access normal school. And so programs like this are really a healthy outlet for self-expression. And so it was really important. We knew that we could not lapse. Now with the adult programming, it was a little more complex because internet access is not, you know, very easily attainable in the older rural prisons. But Chris Limber did a great job of getting books and dramaturgy, studies of dramaturgy over to them. He just drove a whole load of books up to Bowling Green, Missouri the other day. He's also doing a brand new workbook series for Welcome to the Theater, and it's very comprehensive. It's going to be a couple of 100 pages, I think, long, of just really solid background materials on acting and theater and the history of it, and everything from playwriting to production, so that until we can get back into the facilities, the artists that we work with have some learning materials that they can kind of be working on and preparing and learning before we can, get back in and get ready for normal productions again. So very hard to pivot when you don't have access to your artists, but our team did such a phenomenal job. I take zero credit for it. It was all them who really just felt passionately that we can't let this time go by when they're so isolated as it is and worried. And facilities like that are a hot spot for COVID, for outbreaks and things like that. So we knew it was really important that they had something until we can get back in person again. So I'm very proud of the team. Very.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So one of the most, I think, one of the biggest moments, I think, for us, just kind of helping with PPA storytelling, is not only realizing that the program is available in the facilities and you're making a huge change, but it also continues into once they're out of incarceration. So
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about how the alumni program got started and just a little bit about the program as a whole?
Yeah, the alumni program, I think, was established in 2005 when PPA's first participants began to be released from prison. And it has grown significantly since then. They are right now meeting weekly on Zoom. Obviously, that's the only safe way to do it at this point. But the really neat part about them meeting on Zoom is that some of our alumni who were released and then moved out of area are able to participate now. We have Hazel is in New York, and Autumn, who a lot of people recognize, she's down in Tennessee, and even Amy Sherrill is out in Hannibal, Missouri. And so they can log in every week and participate, and there's that companionship. It's a really neat pro-social support and activity for each other. Right now, they're working on two really neat projects. One is called Kept Away, and it's monologues that they've all written about their experience, their life experience before, during, and after incarceration. And I've had a chance to review, to look through the script, and it is one of the most powerful things I've ever read in my life. It's very raw and authentic, but Chris, our artistic director, has pieced it together in this really beautiful way. And so I'm very excited. I think in spring, we're going to be able to have a professionally filmed release of that, and it's going to be incredible. And then also two of our alumni, David and Eric, while they were incarcerated together, they wrote a prequel to Hamlet called Elsinore. And so Chris is helping them now kind of take it from a 3-act play down to a more marketable 2-act play. But once it's done, then the alumni will be able to perform it, hopefully late summer, fall, outdoors somewhere. And it will be the first true production that's been written by alumni and performed by alumni and then performed professionally in St. Louis. And the alumni program is so cool because a lot of people can't get out to a prison, far away in the middle of the week to see a show, but the alumni are here and they're local, and they are able to really make those connections in the community they've returned to and demonstrate. They're like PPA's very best ambassadors because they care so deeply about the program, and they're so talented and have, some of them, decades of experience now working with PPA. And so I highly recommend, if you can't make it out to a prison, that you tune in online to see their show or come to a performance this fall, because it's pretty a transformative experience for sure. And we're really hoping to be able to hire a part-time alumni company manager soon as well, because it's a lot for a very small staff to be managing out in the, out in the facilities and here as well. But we have a very committed group of people who make it happen. But we're growing, and that's a good thing. But very, very proud of the alumni for every week, despite what's happening in their lives. They tune in for a paid rehearsal and are able to communicate with each other and gain the artistic experience that a lot of them want to pursue the arts more professionally as well. So
just amazing.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Amanda or Lexi?
I think so, no.
Shannon, thank you so much for being here.
Oh no, thank you guys. You guys have been such huge supporters and ambassadors for PPA too, and we are very grateful for everything you've done to kind of help the community learn a little bit more about us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So if someone watching wants to learn more about PPA, where can they find you on the web, on social, and then online?
Yep, we have a brand new website we're very excited about. Our URL is prisonperformingarts.org, and that's how you can find us. We're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn. So there's a contact page on our website too, so people can feel free to send me an email anytime. I'm never short of words about PPA, so happy to help connect people however they're interested. So
thank you.
Thank you guys.
For everyone watching, as we mentioned, PPA is a truly special organization that's doing amazing work, and it's important. And more than ever, we believe nonprofits need you. So if you feel inclined after watching this interview, please visit their website and watch a show, donate if you can, do anything you can, share the story about PPA. So thank you all for watching, and Shannon, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks guys for having me. I appreciate it. It was good to see you all.
You too. So good to see you. Okay, bye everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.